As the years went by, the legend of the Russian sleep experiment grew, and it became a popular topic of discussion in the scientific community. Many researchers were fascinated by the experiment and wanted to learn more about what had happened to the prisoners. In the early 2000s, a group of researchers from the United States decided to investigate the experiment further. They traveled to Russia and spoke with some of the surviving experimenters who had conducted the study. To their surprise, the experimenters were surprisingly open about what had happened during the experiment. They admitted that they had made a grave mistake by using the gas to keep the prisoners awake, and that they had not fully understood the effects that sleep deprivation could have on the human body. The researchers were able to obtain some of the original documents from the experiment, including detailed notes on the prisoners' behavior and medical records. They also spoke with some of the family members of the prisoners who had died during the experiment, and their stories were heart-wrenching. One family member recounted how her brother had been a strong, healthy young man before he participated in the experiment. However, after just a few days, he had started showing signs of mental deterioration and had become increasingly violent and agitated. She was devastated by his death and blamed the experimenters for his tragic fate. The researchers spent several years studying the documents and interviewing people associated with the experiment. They were able to piece together a more detailed picture of what had happened during the experiment and how it had gone so terribly wrong. They discovered that the gas used to keep the prisoners awake was a highly experimental and dangerous substance known as nicotine X. The gas had been developed by the Soviet Union's top chemists, who believed that it had the potential to be used as a powerful weapon in warfare. The experimenters had been given clearance to use the gas on the prisoners without fully understanding its effects on the human body. They believed that it would keep the prisoners awake and alert for long periods of time, allowing them to study the effects of sleep deprivation in detail. However, as the experiment progressed, it became clear that the gas was having a profound effect on the prisoners' mental state. They began experiencing vivid hallucinations and delusions, and their behavior became increasingly erratic and violent. The experimenters had no idea how to control the prisoners' behavior, and they became increasingly desperate as the situation spiraled out of control. They tried to communicate with the prisoners through the microphones, but their attempts were met with screams and gibberish. In a last-ditch effort to regain control of the situation, the experimenters decided to introduce a second gas into the prisoners' rooms. This gas was designed to sedate the prisoners and calm them down, but it had the opposite effect. The prisoners became even more agitated and began mutilating themselves in horrific ways. They tore off their own flesh and muscles and even started eating their own flesh. The experimenters were horrified by what they saw and quickly sealed the doors shut again, hoping that the prisoners would eventually calm down. However, when they checked on the prisoners a few hours later, they discovered that they had all died. Some had died from their injuries, while others had died from a combination of exhaustion, dehydration, and self-mutilation. The researchers who had investigated the experiment were shocked by what they had learned. They were appalled by the experimenters' disregard for the safety and well-being of the prisoners and the horrific suffering that they had endured. The legacy of the Russian sleep experiment continues to haunt the scientific community to this day. It serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of ethical research and the need to prioritize the safety and well-being of human subjects in scientific studies. It also highlights the potential dangers of using experimental substances without fully understanding their effects on the human body. Despite the horrors of the experiment, some have suggested that it may have had some scientific value. The extreme conditions that the prisoners were subjected to may have provided some insights into the effects of sleep deprivation and extreme stress on the human body and mind. However, The consensus in the scientific community is that the experiment was a horrific violation of human rights and ethical standards. The use of human subjects in research should always be conducted with the utmost care and respect for their dignity and well-being. The Russian sleep experiment continues to be a source of fascination and horror for many people around the world. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked scientific curiosity and the need for ethical guidelines to protect human subjects in research. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of the story is the fact that it is based on a real experiment that actually took place. It is a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind seemingly innocuous scientific research and the importance of remaining vigilant to ensure that such atrocities never happen again.